Let's go over the delicate balance of non-scale victories. Hey, what's shaking bacon? My name is Bruno Panucci. I hope you're doing well. So we're going to discuss non-scale victories in this video. So if you haven't heard of non-scale victories, it's a victory you get, an accomplishment you've had from doing any type of routine, whether you're vegan or vegetarian or carnivore, and you're getting health benefits that don't reflect on the scale. The scale is a poor indication of your health. People get obsessed with those numbers, and though it's one small sliver of the pie, we want to keep in mind that it's only a slice. That's it. It's just a slice of the pie of the information you need to know if you're getting healthy. So even though you haven't lost weight, or maybe you've gained weight, you might find that you've had other benefits to whatever lifestyle changes you've made. So we're going to go over a few of those things. And more importantly, we're going to go over some major non-scale victories I've had in my blood work near the end of this video. So those are landmark non-scale victories that I've never had before doing this 90-10 high-fat carnivore challenge I've given myself. So why would I do such a high fat ratio? Well, I did 80-20 in ratio back for the last, almost the last half of last year. And I didn't get many benefits from it. And in fact, really, I put on a little bit of weight and then lost that weight and lost about another 10 pounds. So that was nice. It got me through a plateau, but then it just plateaued at that new weight. So that was a bit of a bummer, but it still got me through that plateau. And the downside of that was I was getting a lot of my fat through butter, and butter, oh man, butter gave me diarrhea. I thought it was just being high fat that was doing it. No, it was the high amount of butter I was getting in my diet, because it's tough to get in that much fat in your diet unless you incorporate something like butter. Well, I'm doing it differently this time. This time I've gotten rid of the butter because I've known of people who've gotten better results using beef tallow instead of butter. So I thought, okay, I'm going to give that a shot and I'm going to see how this goes. So for the last 3 weeks, I've been having beef tallow instead of butter. I haven't had any butter whatsoever. And I've even done a higher fat version of carnivore. So I'm at a 90-10 ratio of calories for my fat to my protein intake. So I still believe we don't want to have low protein intake. So I'm actually getting a lot of calories in a day just to make sure I meet what I consider to be my minimum requirement for protein. I'm trying to shoot for about 140 grams of protein in a day. Now, I don't normally pay attention to numbers and I'm not weighing out my food that much, but I just know I'm getting quarter-pound burger patties for most of my meals. I know how much protein is in one of those burger patties, and I'm getting so many of those burger patties in a meal and in a day. I'm having at least 5 patties a day. I'm shooting for 6, but honestly, it's tough to get that much food in a day. So what happens when you can't get enough food in a day? People who do carnivore and they're only getting 1,000 calories a day, 1,200 calories a day, and they're saying, I can't eat anymore. Most likely, most often, you're just not moving enough. So in the last few weeks, I've also been doing a lot more walking and I've been back into the weights. Now, weights have always been a thing I've done on and off, whether it's been a HIIT workout or weight routine workout. I love doing weights, but my schedule hasn't always allowed for it. I always had 2 jobs and I've worked a lot of hours. So I've had the availability more lately to do more exercise. I'm doing a lot more walking. Even with this extra exercise, my waistline has gone up. My weight has gone up. Now, I expected that because the last time I did high fat, I put on something like 23 pounds or 24 pounds inside of a 2-week window. That blew me away. At my size, it's not difficult to put on 25 pounds. It's not. You know, when I started this, I was about 317 pounds, and I'm sure I'm up to about 325 or 30 pounds. That's what happened last time. And then after a short while, boom, I lost 10 pounds really fast. The weird thing about my weight gain this time is a lot of it is in my upper stomach, not my waist. That's sort of alarming for me because that's unusual. So I've had my cortisol looked at. Turns out my cortisol's fine. I thought for sure my cortisol would have something to do with that. And also the fact that I'm doing everything right and I'm not losing any weight. In fact, I'm going in the opposite direction. But why would I stick to something like this? Well, because I'm getting non-scale victories. Sometimes just because people see the scale go up, they abandon what they're doing because they think it's not good or healthy for them. Well, you don't know unless you've given it a fair shot and let it run its course. Now, if you're feeling worse doing something like this and maybe you can't get enough sleep, your energy's off and you're not feeling well, then you may have to reassess if what you're doing is working. But my energy's been fine, my sleep's been better, and I still get broken sleep, but I get more broken sleep in a night. Sounds kind of weird, right? But it is what it is. Let's go over some non-scale victories that we can look at when we're doing a carnivore diet that we have to pay attention to, because you can easily get discouraged. I was getting discouraged, to be honest. Having all this weight gain and as well inches. I don't care if I have weight gain and I lose inches, but if I have weight gain and I'm putting on inches, that can be discouraging. You're thinking, I'm doing everything right. I'm exercising. I'm making sure that I don't overdo it with my exercise. And I'm making sure that my diet is clean, spot on, and I still have issues. So, you have to start looking at the non-scale victories. So typically some non-scale victories are inflammation goes away, your joints feel better, your inches on your waist go down, you have more energy, your mental health is way better. You're in a better, clearer mood. You don't have mental fog anymore. Maybe your anxiety or depression is more managed. You have better energy throughout the day, as well as better performance in your daily activities. So maybe it's some sports, maybe it's some activities, maybe it's just your job. You're not as tired at the end of the day. You don't need to take naps through the day. You're just better off at the end of the day. So when your inflammation starts going away, that's another non-scale victory. And along with that, your blood work starts looking better. And when your blood work starts looking better, your doctor's happy. And when your doctor's happy, even though you're doing a carnivore diet and they don't like the fact you're doing a high-fat carnivore diet, they can't argue with the numbers. Only a knucklehead doctor would see you're getting good results and you're getting healthier on paper, the numbers they respect and they like looking at to judge whether you're healthy or not. If those numbers are getting better and you're doing something that they don't agree with, why would they stop and argue with you about what you're doing? At that point, they should be stopping and asking questions to find out how you're doing what you're doing, because it's working, and they should suggest that you keep going with it because all they care about are those numbers. So like I said earlier in the video, I have had stunning improvements with my blood work. About 2 months ago, I had blood work done, and I had blood work done again after my 3 weeks of strict high-fat carnivore with minimum 5 meals a day. There's a couple times I had 4 meals a day, but those were the exception. I'm trying to have even 6 meals a day. Sometimes my last meal is just fat because I'm honestly not that hungry. So I'm just having a little bit of fat to help swallow the meds that I take at night. So first and foremost, one of the things that bothered me when I had my blood work done last time, a couple months ago, was my insulin was high. When you've been on a strict carnivore diet for 2+ years, strict, not a lick, taste, or bite of anything off a carnivore diet, and you get your fasting insulin taken, and it's high. I was well over 250 for my fasting insulin. Now divide that number by 6, and that'll give you an idea of what you Americans measure your insulin at compared to what Canadians measure it at. It's just a different equation, really. So let's go over this. Before, my fasting insulin, 253 with a range that I was supposed to be in between 20 and 180. And now I had 31. So that's a number closer for you Americans to understand. I think the top's supposed to be about 25. But if you times your number by 6, this gives you the Canadian number. So I went down to 186. So I was at 253 just 2 months ago, my fasting insulin. And now that fasting insulin dropped substantially. It dropped 80 points. This is a trend I have to pay attention to. I'm going to try and get my blood work done in another 3 or 4 weeks to see if this is trending in this direction or this was some fluke. I seriously doubt it's some fluke. I think beef tallow is definitely a smart move for me to go with because people get better results with it for some reason. For me, it was worth it just to not have the diarrhea. Was my stool loose? Yes. Was it diarrhea? Absolutely not. So I could live with that. So here's the thing that's blown me away. My LDL cholesterol was at 5.88. Now, my doctor insisted when you look at this, it says my HDL cholesterol was 6.6. It's never been 6.6. She insisted that it was a mistake, so not to pay any attention to it. My HDL's always been hovering right around just below or just above the acceptable low-end number for HDL. I'm ignoring that 6.6, and I fully agree with her that I seriously doubt my HDL was 6.6. But the number we're looking at right here, this is the huge change. This is the substantial change in my blood work. My LDL cholesterol went from 5.88 and it went down to 3.54. That is substantial. Here's why that number is so substantial. Not only did it go down 2 points, which is a massive change. This is the important thing to walk away from with this. I have never, ever, since I've been tested for my cholesterol since my mid-20s, I have never had normal cholesterol. Now, my cholesterol still is on the high end. Don't get me wrong. I'm fully aware of that. But the important thing to remember is it's gone down 2 points, and I've never had my cholesterol drop like this ever in almost 25 years. So doing a high fat version of Carnivore has actually lowered my LDL substantially. Those are the numbers that most doctors are horribly concerned about. And when they see that my numbers have dropped that much, it's mind-blowing. In just a few weeks, my LDL has dropped that much. So those are two of the big numbers that have changed for me. My fasting insulin has gone down, and if it continues to go down, my weight's gonna go down with it. So that's one of the big things we have to keep in mind is fasting insulin and my cholesterol. Cholesterol will make my doctor happy. Personally, I don't care too much about it. My triglycerides are good. The only thing I really have to worry about is low vitamin D. Now we're just coming out of the winter in Canada. So after months of not seeing any sun, it makes sense that my vitamin D was low. I supplemented on and off through the winter with some vitamin D, but I wasn't too strict about it. But my vitamin D was quite low, very low. It was the low end they want to see is 30 and I'm at 15, so it's substantially low. Surprisingly, my cortisol was good. I did not expect my cortisol to be good. Another number worth mentioning was my plaque, and they want a number between 150,000 and 500,000, and I was at 190,000. So this makes people that know me very happy because those people don't have to worry as much about my numbers and risk of heart attack. I've had a heart attack, and you never know if you're ever going to have another one. I still want to do a calcium scoring test to see if it's any better. I'll probably have to lose a little bit more weight because the last time I did one of those, I was a little bit too big for the machine, so they couldn't get an accurate reading. So what's the main message from this video? Yes, of course, non-scale victories are important, but you have to take into account, you have to weigh the positives against the negatives. So yeah, I've probably put on maybe 10 or 15 pounds doing this high fat version of Carnivore. I've easily put on a couple inches on my stomach, not my waist, which is weird. Where you measure at your belly button, no, I've put on more inches higher up. So I put on weight and inches, which is not good, but you have to weigh that against the fact that my blood work is dramatically better. And that's the more important thing, because as that blood work continues to get better, my metabolism gets healthier, I will start to just lose weight. So sometimes you have to take a step back, unfortunately, to move forward. And in the last few years, changing my diet seems to have had an impact on my weight to the negative. When I go higher fat, it's a negative first result I get. And I want you to pay attention to this because, like I said, it's not all about the scale. Too many people start high fat Carnivore and then they turn around and they get scared and run away because the scale went up. But sometimes it seems you have to take the bad with the good, and eventually good will triumph. I have no doubt. You have to make sure to focus on some of these non-scale victories that you're having. And if you're having trouble finding them, go get some blood work done. Because I already had all these other non-scale victories that I mentioned earlier with the joints feeling better, more energy, all these things. I was already experiencing that. So I was like, okay, well, I'm still feeling good, but my waistline's going up and I put on inches. So this is getting really discouraging. Why is that? I know this is part of the process, but why is that? And then when I got my blood work, I was like, this is why. This is why. This is what we need to keep in mind whenever we're doing any version of a healthy lifestyle change, is you're not going to get all your results at once. Trust the process and move forward from there. Thanks for watching. I hope you found this educational, beneficial. If you liked it, please leave a comment. Tell me some of your non-scale victories. Give it a thumbs up, and I'll talk to you later.